well-known interior designer from Canada and a good friend of mine, Tracey Fines.
Tracey Fines has been a successful real estate investor for over 25 years. Not only does she flip properties for massive profits, she designs and builds luxury custom homes and develops land. Tracey is an experienced investor and builder, published interior designer, and she has won numerous awards for design. Tracey is an award-winning author and international speaker who has been featured in international publications and on television. Having a zest for life, a love of great design, and an enthusiasm for creating beauty, she will uplift and inspire you to take massive action in your life to achieve your goals. And she wants to help you do the same. Please welcome Tracey Fines.
When you're building something below ground, like a foundation, okay, you might be building a house, but in this case, we're putting in a pool into the ground. So you always have to excavate a larger hole than what you need, because you have to get workers in the hole. You have to sometimes you have to put forms inside and form a new wall that will be concrete. So you need a little extra room than actually what the house or whatever structure it is will need. So you need to have like a working area that's a little bit bigger than the final product. But once you have the walls in place, and in this case, we're going to be putting in a pool. So the pool walls are the steel container. Once the pool is in place, he will have to come along and backfill that area, which means that he's going to take soil and he's going to fill the gap between the steel wall of the pool and where the soil exists already. Wherever the end of the hole is, he's going to have to backfill that. And the concern about excavations and backfilling is compression of the soil. So when we are putting on, whether it's a basement footing foundation, or even in this case, a pool, we want to be on compacted soil. And compacted soil is like natural soil that's not been disturbed. It's sat there for like decades, and it's compacted. You know, the rain has seeped through it. It keeps, getting smaller and smaller. Like no air holes in there, no air pockets. That's compacted soil. So we want natural compacted soil for our structure to sit on. Now, the pool that's existing there is probably like a 5 foot or 6 foot deep pool. So he's going to have to go down to that 6 foot level, scrape it all off, and that's the compacted soil. So he can't put soil on top of that compacted soil, okay? Because that wouldn't be compacted anymore. So on top of that, he has to use gravel. Okay, gravel will compact like right away. Okay, and gravel, he will have to use I don't know the device's name. There's a compaction device for gravel, and it's like a vibrating machine. So it will vibrate. It's not any different than when you're shaking like something. What's the word? Like trying to sieve something, in the kitchen. The big chunks are gonna rise to the top. The little chunks go to the bottom when you're shaking something. Just imagine like flour or sugar or something, and sometimes it's in little clumps. And those little clumps, like the powder goes through the sieve right away, but the little clumps rise to the top. And that means that it's basically now compacted. All the littlest stuff has fallen to the bottom. The big stuff's at the top. It's not going to fall anymore. It's not going to compress anymore. So they have some kind of a gravel compacting machine that they run over top. It's like a flat bottom on it, and it vibrates. That's a compactor. And then once the gravel's compacted, it really won't settle anymore. Because what happens is, if you don't have compacted ground that you're putting your heavy structures on, over the course of time, it will maybe settle on one end and not be level anymore. And that's no good for a house or a pool, right? So we want it to be level.
Tracy, I had a question about the mod pool. You're using mod, right?
No,
Okay.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
you're
be,
not.
no, mod is too long a lead time now. I'm gonna
Oh.
use another company called Tangle Pools.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Because when I talked to Maud about a container pool for Tiny, Ontario, they said that one end has to be exposed. You can cover it with decking, but it has to be exposed so that they can go in there and do all their machinery.
Yeah.
Is that the same for yours?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how will you do that? Like
Yeah.
which end?
So the end that's closest to the house will be the access, mechanical room access will be there. So everything that the pool needs, the filter, the pump, the heater, all those three things actually are inside underneath the stairs of the pool. So there's stairs that go down into the pool, and under the stairs is where the equipment room is. So because you have an equipment room there, they have to have access panel, an access door to get in there to service the equipment, not very often, but once in a while. So you need to do some kind of a landscaping. Basically, you have to build it into your landscaping to have that access area. So you just have to be mindful of how you are making it look seamless as part of your landscape and not this sort of odd, all of a sudden underground room. So it's a design exercise in concealing that entrance to that mechanical area. And you see this this little platform over here. It's a wood platform that I did on top of the deck, and it also overhung the pool a little bit. So and it's a wood deck. So I could do something very similar to that and make it a feature, and yet you can still have access somehow to get into that. So I will definitely be figuring that out as we go along, but I will have to have it because that's where the equipment is. So again, right, with everything, there are design constraints. And so, yes, I can get the pool in time. Yes, it can fit my budget, but okay, now I have to deal with having this access area. So always design constraints. But again, it's all about your perspective or your perception, like what's, but the other side of the coin is, oh, I can have this amazing window in the side of the pool and have this sunken sort of living area around this pool, around this window.
Yeah.
So pros and cons are just normal. So you're going to have some things that you can't do, and then you're going to offset it by things that you can do that other pools can't do. So
do you think you'll have it heated in the winter, like year round?
No, you have to drink. Well, you can heat it all year round, but I won't be going swimming all year round. I have a hot tub for that, so I'll be in the hot tub in the winter. But I will have to drain the pool in the winter. Oh, this is what I wanted to share with you. Okay, you just made me remember. So in Toronto, where we are, we're in we're in the north, the deep north. So we have winter, which means that we build our structures differently than if you're in a warm climate. We have frost that will seep into the ground, okay, which means that the ground expands in the winter because of the moisture freezing. We know water expands when it freezes into ice. So we have soil that expands in the winter. So when you're building any kind of a structure, you've got to go down below the frost line to make sure that it will be not moving in the winter. So that is one of the reasons why we have to go down a minimum of 4 feet to build our footings. So if you have a property that you want to put an addition on, but you don't really want to dig out the basement, you don't have to dig it out. Although I don't know why you wouldn't, because you might as well dig it out if you're doing something over top of it. But you don't have to, but you do have to go down below the frost line to make sure that that property will be on solid footing. It has to be solid. So the frost, in my experience, it's not usually more than 2 feet in Toronto, in my area. It's not more than 2 feet deep, the frost. In fact, it's probably not even 2 feet deep. But in order to make sure that we're on natural soil that's not disturbed by the cold, we need to go down below that level to make sure if we're, when we're building a structure in a cold climate, that structure is not going to move. Now, interesting enough, we do build all year round now in Toronto in the cold climates. Now, you have to be careful because once you expose the natural compacted soil that you're going to put your footing on, you are exposing it to potential frost. So you may see construction sites that are, I used to see and use straw to protect the natural soil from being frostbitten until the footings are poured. Okay, so I mean, I'm not sure right now. Like, I see construction going on all around me in the winter, and they excavate and they bring in their concrete forms and they start to form up their footings and foundations. And I'm wondering, like, is that house gonna be as stable as a house that's built in the summer? Because once you expose the compacted soil to the air, it's going to start to potentially freeze, especially if you get snowfall and maybe some melting, and then there's a frost or freezing again. So I don't know, like, if that has had a big impact on those new homes that I see being done in the winter, but it could. Okay, it could. And I'm curious about that myself. Like, how are you avoiding the frost in that? That's a good question, actually, to talk to. If you do get into building any kind of a foundation, you can speak with the foundation, companies, and say, like, what are you doing to protect the soil from frost? Because I don't want shifting, right? When I've got my big house here, and then the ground thaws, like, what's going to happen with my house?
I know that there's been major upgrades with materials they're using, like certain types of concretes that they can use in the winter versus the summer. But you're right, like, what happens with the soil? I actually didn't even think of that.
Yeah, concrete, they have the technology now with concrete to pour it and have it set in almost any temperature.
Yeah, which is amazing.
It's amazing, and it's basically chemistry, right? So chemists have come up with the perfect recipe for different temperatures. It's really a science. It's amazing. You look at a concrete truck and you just think, oh, it's just like a big truck full of concrete. Well, it's really high tech, and it's geared towards your situation, that concrete. So it's very interesting. But yes, the soil is still exposed, and that does raise some concerns for me, pouring concrete like that in the winter on that virgin soil. Any questions, guys? Does that give you a clear understanding of the process of putting that pool in? And then, of course, once the pool goes in, you see, there's really nothing that I can do to that property until the pool goes in. The pool, it is the big messy job. So that pool has to happen first, because there's no way I'm going to put any of my finishing pieces there, like any kind of hardscape. This is called hardscape. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where I am. So all of the stone patios, that's called hardscape. And then your plants and your vegetation is called softscape. And by the way, the water is called softscape. And in my area, and in your area, it might be similar. you have to have a certain percentage of softscape versus hardscape. And the reason why in Toronto, why this is happening is because with hardscape, there's a lot of water runoff into the sewer system, into the storm sewers, and that overwhelms the storm sewers. So there's a requirement by the city to have a certain percentage of softscape, because softscape will absorb the water that comes down from the sky and it won't push it off into the street sewer system. So pools are softscape, and vegetation, gardens, lawns. And if you have an interlock driveway that has the holes in it for grass, which I've done, that's softscape. That's not considered hardscape. So that's a, you know, there's no way that my landscaper is going to do anything with regards to the hardscape or the softscape finishing. Like, he's not going to plant anything and he's not going to lay any tile until that pool mess is done. So the pool has to come first. First of all, he's going to demo, you know, he's going to demo a lot of stuff, get the pool hole, the excavation hole ready for the pool, put the pool in. Then he's going to backfill it, connect the pool and backfill. And then once it's backfilled, then he can start to lay out where the hardscape's going to be, where the gardens are going to be. He's going to lay all that out. And then he will start to prep all of the foundations for that. So underneath the hardscape, there will be a layer of gravel, screening. Screening is smaller little stones. And underneath all the gardens, he will basically bring in good soil for the gardens, because depending on your area, might not be suitable for plants, might not be the best gardening soil. So he'll typically bring in some good gardening soil and create nice beds for you for the plants. And then once all of that done, he'll start to lay the tile, and he will start with usually the coping around the pool. And the coping is this border tile, this border tile right here. That's called a coping. And usually a coping has one side has a rounded edge on it, and that's called a bullnose. The coping has one edge that's a round edge, which makes it soft. So you can even see it on my little low wall here. There's a round edge on those tiles, and they're caps. They're capping tiles, but they have a round edge to finish that edge nicely. The other edge is square, so it can abut, remember the abut? It can abut other tiles, okay? And the coping goes around the pool always, and I will do that, of course, with the steel pool as well, hopefully. I'm going to have to investigate if I can I think I can still do that around the edge of the steel. Although I think the steel pool comes with a coping cap on it. So I would, you know, this is a new experience for me. So I'll have to learn what's the best way to finish the edge of that pool, and then continue the tile from the pool edge out. Okay, so that's what my landscaper will do. He'll get all the hard surfaces done first, and then he'll bring in the soil for the soft surface gardens. And then at the very, very end, once all that is done, he will then bring the plants in at the very end. Once everything is clean and neat, and the house is painted, okay, because I also have to paint the exterior of the house. So he's not going to put plants up against the walls until I've got the house painted. So it's a process, right? So that, you don't want to have the house painted too soon either, because he's going to create a lot of dust. So there's this relationship that has to happen between the messy work and then the finishing work. So the messy work is sort of the tearing down of stuff and preparing for the new stuff, and then there's the finishing work, which is where everything is clean and fresh looking and new. And you don't really want newness happening on one side and messiness happening next to it, because then the messiness gets into the clean stuff. It's not a perfect science either, okay? Because you've got all these constraints and tension between everybody wanting to do their job and get done and get paid. And so you have your own goal as you're doing this, right? You have your end goal in mind, but each trade has their own destination in mind. So they want to do their work, get paid, move on to the next job. I want to make sure that I have the best results. So I may want them to wait a bit or coordinate their effort with someone else. And there's a little more coordination involved and tension, right? So it's like, just give me a minute, just wait on that. Go and do this over there while you're waiting for my other guy to finish this. So there's a lot of coordination and juggling. I've got a lot of balls in the air constantly, and everything works out in the end. Okay. Don't let it phase you to be, moving things around to get them done. You work over on the north side of the building for a bit while I get this guy to do the south side, and then you guys can switch. So there needs to be that mastermind approach to the entire project, and you need to be able to orchestrate that with all of your players, with all of, it's really like you're the conductor, right? You're the conductor of the orchestra, and you really need to know when the strings are going to play and when the brass is going to play, and you need to keep them all synchronized. So it's not a perfect science, but you will be doing that as coordinating when you're coordinating your job. Because you don't want to have the house, it's a big property, right? You don't want to have the house only having one thing being done to it at a time, because your schedule will be so long. You really want to maximize and shorten your schedule as quick as much as possible. So you may have different trades doing different areas of the property. Maybe some are working outside, some are working inside. One's on the second floor, one's in the basement. You will find the tolerance for your own project, because you don't want trades tripping on each other either. That's frustrating for them. You don't want 5 guys working in one corner of the basement. They're going to end up like fighting. They're going to want to kill each other at the end of the day. Like, get the hell out of my way, like, go away. And I've seen, police and I've seen fistfights and stuff happening. So it can get crazy. So you definitely need to be mindful, first of all, of who you're hiring. But second of all, you need to basically orchestrate different trades working simultaneously, but cooperatively with each other. I have had trades go to jail. I've had trades that didn't show up because they got arrested. I had like the craziest stories that happen. Just crazy stories. Anyway, was this helpful?
Yep. Very helpful.
Okay.
Amazing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, hi, Tracey Fines here. And I'm so glad that you watched my video and my presentation, because I love sharing what I do. I'm very passionate about it, and I want to help you do this too. So if this is interesting to you and you're excited to get involved in real estate investing, then click the link in the description below, and I invite you to join me at my live presentation where you can ask me questions and I can help you in the best way possible. So I look forward to sharing with you more at that presentation. See you then.